Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, tell me, do you remember this? This was last year, 2016, in the DNC chair race. Let's take a look.
All right, welcome back to the CNN debate. Who will be the DNC chair? All the candidates are here. Next question, Secretary Perez. Recently you said that the primary was rigged against Bernie Sanders. Later the same day you said you misspoke when you made those comments. Which is it?
Well, here are the facts. Hillary Clinton won the Democratic primary. Hillary Clinton also won the popular vote. At the same time, because of the absence of transparency in the Democratic primary, there was a crisis of trust that ensued. And what we need in the chair of the Democratic Party is to make sure that in fact and in perception, every single day, you are fair and neutral. That's why when you asked the question before about primaries, you have to let the primary process go. If I were the chair, if I have the privilege of winning, for instance, one of the things I would recommend would be that we set the primary debate schedule long in advance of when we know who the candidates are. We have to do everything to make sure we are fair and transparent. And it's not only in how we set the primary process. The DNC is a black hole. And we have a crisis of confidence because it is. And that's why the leader of the DNC needs to make sure that we are investing in
hold on a second,
transparency.
Secretary, 10 seconds. Was it rigged or not?
Again, the process, because of the absence of transparency, it created that crisis of relevance, and it created the distrust that people didn't trust the outcome.
Mr. Ronan, was it rigged or not?
Thank you. I was going to interrupt anyway. The point is, not only was the primary rigged, it was also rigged all across the country because the DNC has never allowed outsiders or brand new people to rise through the ranks. It has always been an insider game, and it has been that way for a very, very long time. That is where that lack of trust has come into play, because not only was Bernie Sanders snubbed, not only did it look like Hillary Clinton had bought or muscled her way into it, then those supporters were denied a chance to speak at the convention, and that was the final straw. If people don't have a voice, an equitable voice, like I alluded to earlier, then people are not going to trust the system, and they are going to go out of their way to break it.
Secretary Perez.
Do you guys remember that? That's Sam Ronan. Sam Ronan created a massive stir when he did that. The DNC up to that point, and all of the Democrats have been pushing this ridiculous narrative of kumbaya. We're all together. We're all together. Nothing took place. Nothing took place. There's nothing to see here, folks. The primaries were perfectly okay. We're all united. Everybody knew that wasn't true. In fact, the entire reason that the news media, usually oblivious to everything else, was like, wait a minute, you guys are saying you guys are united. Was the primaries rigged or not? Put him on the spot. Ronan, yes, the primaries were rigged, and it was rigged all across the country. Now, I wish he would have went further, but he's in a DNC chair leadership debate. Ronan had no chance, or an infinitesimal chance, of winning. But in practicality, no chance. The infinitesimal part is just, I'm assuming in some universe somewhere, some reality that maybe, yeah, he won. Not in this one. And in this one, he had no chance. But he did get across his ideas. And the guy came across as an anti-establishment candidate. He was a progressive candidate. I like the guy. I sent him a request to see if he'd come on the show. So I'll see what he says. But I would love to have a conversation with him. There are conversations that he's had with Jordan from TYT. But I would say take a listen to the guy at the debates. Take a listen to the guy, his content. And see what you can find in regards to him on the web. He seems to be a pretty solid guy. So one part I want to talk about, because I think it's awesome. Tom Perez is absurd. He's absurd. Have you ever wondered when you used to look at Republicans and they used to have to defend really ridiculous, heinous, disgusting, arbitrary stuff, And you may have somebody who's an otherwise sane human being sounding absolutely absurd because of the things that they need to push down or to evade. Tom Perez was asked, was it rigged? He says it needs to be transparent. I'm sorry, Tom, transparency wasn't the problem. The problem was there was too much information. Everybody could see what you guys were doing, and it was extraordinarily clear that you guys cheated Bernie Sanders. It's not an issue of transparency. Tom goes on to say it was a crisis of trust, it was a crisis of confidence, and it was a crisis of relevance. He's right. In that sense, your party is irrelevant. And people like Ronan are trying to essentially cannibalize it from the inside out. My issue with... Look, here's the thing, man. I don't like the DNC at this point. I don't like the Democratic Party in general at this point. I have a hard time seeing myself voting for any particular person that's running as a Democrat. That being said, that's somewhat impractical. There will be people who run who you would look at and you would say, okay, I believe that guy. He seems earnest. He seems to have always had this particular basis of, this is what I believe in. Now, Ronan has just kind of hit the political circuit, but Ronan has been pretty clear in his beliefs, or at the very least at the things that he espouses. And yeah, he pretty much espouses a progressive ideology. So, even though he's running as a Democrat, yeah, he has my support. I like the guy. So, I'm going to, like I said, send an invite out to him to come on the show. We'll see what he says. But either way, I like him. He has my support. So, I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the work through Patreon. Thanks.